Please explain to me why Geelong consistently receive more free kicks than the opposition. The 2 games they won this year, they received double the amount than the opposition.
Hello everyone, welcome to Eddie and Jimmy. Jimmy, I'm in Adelaide at the moment for what is going to be a fantastic day. Great show last night from Downberg, the Cube. We had a lot of fun and it was good going back to the old days. Derm in great form and Fev and all the fun that was on there. So a fantastic night. Thanks to everybody in Adelaide and particularly down in McLaren Vale for all their support. Tonight we've got the big dinner, the one you like, Jim. That's the black tie dinner with all the power brokers of the AFL at Penfolds.
A little hobnobbing, pressing the flesh.
Exactly, bit of lobbying going on. And then, of course, it all starts tomorrow night with Adelaide versus Carlton. What a game. Is there some build-up to that? Anyway, let's get into it. Thanks to Fiji Airways and Hyundai, our great friends. Don't forget Fiji Airways. What a place to go. If you're a bit worried about what's going on in the world, as we all are, Fiji, just up the road, 3 hours straight into Melbourne, and you've got everything from Kokomo and these magnificent 7-star resorts right through to a thatched hut if you want to just go and have a really good holiday. Fiji is magnificent. And then, if you want to go to the States, straight into Vancouver in Canada, into San Francisco, LA and Dallas, and the world's your oyster from there. I can tell you, a good way to do it, Jim, for you is to think about going to Disney World or Disneyland as part of this, and then on the way back, have a nice little lie in the sunshine, just have a little bit of a break. And there's no better place to take kids than Fiji. It's fantastic.
All right. You can pass my number on to Paul there running.
Paul Scarra,
You can pass my number. Look, I won't object to that one, Ed.
Okay, no worries at all. I'll drive you out in a Hyundai because you don't need a lot of petrol to keep the beautiful, the electronic vehicles the Hyundais have got now are just sensational.
Like I said, pass my number on. Their first question, it's from Craig, which I think it might be actually from a Richard Stainsbury. I'll tell you why, Ed, because can somebody with intelligence and not afraid of straying from the party line of questioning the AFL officials please explain to me why Geelong consistently receive more free kicks than the opposition? The 2 games they won this year, they received double the amount than the opposition. Against the Hawks, it was just under double, so they lost a close one rather than win a close one. Is it a game plan or style of football? Do Cats players put their heads over the ball more than others, or are they always first the ball? What is the reason for this consistent statistic? Look, no one says they have to be easy, but I will admit and will say I left yesterday's game and I just felt like Geelong got the rub of the green. I can admit that. I thought some of them went their way and Hawthorn probably missed on a couple. It's a bit difficult for me to say because, sorry, Craig, I'm not, or you'd probably call me dumb because I don't agree with you, Craig, but I'm not, I don't have any party lines because I couldn't care less. I've never been a big watcher on who gets more free kicks or less. I just find it is something that you'll never solve and you'll get incredibly frustrated by.
Right, okay. We'll come to somebody who does look and see.
Yes. A man who gets angry and the ball was out.
It was, yeah. Well, that's an issue. That's one we'll take with notice, Craig. We'll have a bit of a look and see how the Cats are going. They've had a good run, the Cats, for a long time.
For a long time?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We got some numbers on
out of sight. No, not necessarily just on the free kicks.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, the chairman is a former president of the Cats now, so yeah. Oh, let's just see what happens. They love being out of sight, out of mind, Geelong. They just stay out of the way.
It's only an hour away. It's closer than most outer suburbs of Melbourne.
I reckon Jupiter's closer than Geelong as far as...
Have you ever been over the West Gate, by the way?
Yeah.
Have you been?
I go over the Balti, mate. I don't go over the West Gate so much. Go to Broady.
No, I'm talking...
Go to visit everyone.
I'm talking southwest.
I go to collect the rent. No.
I knew it was coming. I just kept throwing it up there. Eventually you hit it out of the park.
No. I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world down there, haven't they? They've created something. I mean, that's the thing. I looked at what Frank Costa did down at Geelong, and I was doing stories back in the day when Geelong were ringing up and we were doing stories on the footy show, and they were pushing the idea, help us to get out of Geelong. We want to leave Kardinia Park. We want to play all our games at Marvel. We want to become the Melbourne Cats. It was not Melbourne, Geelong Cats, but play in Melbourne and all this sort of thing. And Frank Costa and Brian Cook and all the team, but it was Frank, though, who was the local champion of Geelong. He got in there and they rebuilt the whole place. You know, it is fantastic with everything's happened in the Surf Coast. And no, they've done a great job down there, the Cats. And I still, as I said to you the other week, I don't know why you didn't make the ground a bit bigger, but anyway, wider. Why didn't you?
Because it's a great ground. I love that place.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Craig. I'm an idiot and I'm done. I can't help you. I can't help you on that one, but we will pay attention a little bit closer.
Let me put this one.
I will agree, Craig. You probably got hard done by on some of the fitties. I'm tipping Craig is a.
Go back and have a look at the 2011 grand final. Clifton says.
Spare me.
Uncompromised draft. Okay, says Clifton. Right. With all the talk about draft tweaks, father-son academies, extra compensation picks, are we missing the real structural issue, which is talent development? Oh, Clifton,
Thank you,
right,
Clifton.
right
like you,
on
Clifton.
the money. I'm with you, Clifton. Why not raise the draft age to 20 or 21? All right, can I jump in there? No, you can't.
Nope.
18 years of age, you can't stop people from earning money.
Yep,
Not only
restrain
will
of
they
trade.
probably go to somewhere else, but there's a restraint of trade. 18, you're an adult. All right, next bit. Invest in a proper AFL-run national pathway. Yes. Or second-tier competition. Yes. So clubs are drafting players who are more proven, more developed and more ready for senior footy. You might even cut the list sizes on that one, Jim. If the draft is meant to equalise the competition, shouldn't it be uncompromised? Well, the whole idea of the draft is exactly that. But then, of course, because the AFL can't leave well enough alone, we have father-sons, okay, so we have that. Then we decide we go to academies, and then we do... And each one of them makes perfect sense until it doesn't. And I think we've arrived at that position.
No, I think your first bit, Clifton, regarding development, a lot of clubs go, yeah, we do development well, but until you lift up the hood, they don't. You've got to actually elevate development and actually treat it as high as probably if you're going to do an org chart as your senior assistant coach and your list manager. So I've got a pretty firm belief and theory on player development, and I'm happy to share that with anyone. And you know the way I'd structure it. Because it is just as important. Because long term, it can set you up. So, what it can do is if you can turn players from pick 20 to 40, it's the old, share market thing. If you buy low and sell high, you can actually set your club up really well. And then you start picking which players you want to keep. It helps with your salary cap management. It helps, if you finish low down the ladder, that you can get players to pop, before they get to 70 and 80 games, you can get them to pop at 35 to 40 games. There's so many benefits if you actually truly elevate and highlight development and not just make it an afterthought in your football department and go, what have we got left? Let's just flick that into development. You spend years looking at players, and then some clubs, and they'll all go, oh, no, we do it properly. You don't do it properly, because I've looked under the hood of some clubs. You don't do it properly. And what ends up happening is you go, we've got all these young draftees. Let's get another one. I go, you're not actually addressing what the real issue is.
So can I put this to you, Jim? The AFLPA do a great job. So it sounds like I'm on them, but I am, okay? Stop worrying about the duds who wreck our game, okay? Why has the AFLPA not gone helter-skelter into the AFL and got back the only area that hasn't recovered from COVID, which is actually coaching? Right, the one bit that actually is our game, as I keep saying, let's put the football back into the AFL. That F is football. Okay, now I would rather the AFLPA spend more time and money on getting former players and putting them into coaching positions. Right now, at football clubs, at AFL clubs, right, you've got that, but we've now got the VFL. I'll use for an example. We got the AFL let Preston die recently, right? They were about to let the VFL go off air until suddenly everyone wanted it after my organisation did some work with them and got it back on air on the ABC, and now Seven's doing a game and Foxtel. So, suddenly it's not a bad place. But we should be putting so much time and effort into those development areas and coaching players. Now, you're involved at Caulfield Grammar. Haileybury has had an amazing, successful pipeline into the AFL. No fluke, mate. Guess who their coach is? Matthew Lloyd. Guess who the assistant coach is? Scott Pendlebury. They've got a better development setup than any club in the AFL. All right? That's the AFL, not the VFL, not the Sandful, not the Waffle, not the Ovens and Murray League, not the amateurs, not anyone else that we should be bringing these players through. We are just spending so much money in the wrong spots. And that extrapolates out to the women's game, right, where we need to have better, well, not necessarily better coaches. The coaches who are there are great. We need more of them. So let's go back to the old tradition of education, and that is teacher-student ratios. You've got to get the right teachers, and you've got to get the kids who want to actually listen, and then you bring them together, and guess what? Bang, it all happens. So I'm with you big time on that, Clifton. I think that the money is being allocated the wrong spot.
Great question, Clifton. You might be the clubhouse leader for question of the year. Media bias from Rob. Question for you boys in your role as media experts and one of the few pods that can actually cut through the bullshazing. How is it that some clubs cop so much more negativity week on week in the media compared to others? Do key people in the media just hate some clubs more than others? Do ex-players who are in the media really hold that much sway over the weekly narrative? Or is it because some underperforming teams like the Saints are just irrelevant?
Yeah, look, it's of course you always look to see where the big games are going. It's the media's it's a business. It's as simple as that. You talk about what more people want to hear that gets the most reaction. But St Kilda's an interesting one. I think their time will come in the next couple of weeks. Once what happens is Carlton they're going to cop it until everyone's runs out of steam and realises maybe they're not that good. It's a bit like Essendon. You and I said on this podcast before the first game, Essendon will win the wooden spoon this year. Okay, they just haven't got the players. Simple as that. And they're rebuilding their club. I think Essendon have got to look at it and see that their president has been president for 3 weeks, not 20 years. He wasn't there 20 years ago, and I know he was on the board, Andrew Walsh, but that doesn't matter. The difference between being on a board and being the president is so profound as to completely different universes. So that's where it's got to be. St Kilda, yep, they've got the players in there. It'll take them a little while for them. They haven't played a lot because they didn't play practice matches these days or anything else like that. But their time's coming. They're going to have to stand up or stand down, as the great Alan Jeans would say. Let's go. Kurt it says, playing in India, can Collingwood tap into the Indian community in Melbourne by running a Bollywood-themed game? Yeah, probably they could. I think Richmond are trying hard to get into that. They like the idea of the Tigers. Get some stars of Bollywood over to watch the game, music, culture, all that sort of stuff.
And you also have Jai Saxena, who you brought through the NGA. He played at Xavier last year in the school system that you highlighted a bit before. Became the first AFL player in history with dual Indian heritage.
Yep.
And you know what India has a lot of? Cricket grounds.
Cricket grounds. Not big enough cricket grounds, sadly, but they've got cricket grounds. But it's not only that. India is now going to be one of the biggest diasporas that we have in our country, and particularly in Victoria. And they don't all have to play. But they might be club doctors, they might be commentators, they might be presidents, they might just watch the game and get more eyeballs and get more ratings, etc., etc. And that is still, to me, and I'm living proof of the assimilation into Australia of a migrant kid who fell in love with a game called Australian Rules Football, and it changed my life and gave me a sense of identity in a country where I was pretty lonely as a little boy, just starting off. I'm trying to induce a couple of tears there, Jim. You're not giving me much, but yeah, it was, and it was footy, and you know what, and it was the Pies that gave me that sense of identity. That's why I love them so much to this very day.
You do love them.
I do love them.
Sean, the crowd for the Melbourne Gold Coast match was 24,287, which is modest crowd for early rounds. However, non-Victorian sides are not going to draw big crowds at the MCG unless they're playing one of the big Melbourne clubs for finals. Non-Victorian sides want to play at the MCG. What do you think about doing double headers for Melbourne clubs playing Gold Coast GWS at the MCG to boost crowds?
I think
Melbourne's got to play at the MCG. That's their home ground.
Yeah, but I think the Melbourne club should play the Melbourne clubs early on. It's as simple as that. 24,000 for Melbourne and Gold Coast, pretty good crowd.
Yeah, it's a good crowd.
Yeah, it's not a bad crowd. And you know what? It was a beautiful afternoon, and we saw a great game of footy.
Noisy,
you're not always going to get 100,000, so I'm not that perturbed. But I still think in the early part of the season, those games shouldn't be any buys, and they should be playing the Melbourne clubs should be playing in the right spots. Gold Coast, yeah, they probably need to run on the MCG, but they have a pretty good home ground advantage themselves these days. So yeah, that's it.
Ed, this one is directed at you from Matthew, travelling fans. I have a question for Ed. My brother and I are looking for a place to stay. Can we stay on your couch and eat all your food? No, he says, my brother and I are heading over to Melbourne from WA for the Pies and Eagles game in May. Given we're going in with no expectations of winning, I'm really hoping this game ends up being Pendle's AFL Games record breaker. It would be a fantastic atmosphere, and to be there to witness an AFL legend reach that feat would be amazing. Which I'm not sure. Here we go. So to get into the spirit of it all, what would your Collingwood MCG game day itinerary be for a 4:35 p.m. tap time to get into the spirit of things with the Magpie Army?
Is it a night game, that one, if it happens?
4:35. 4:35.
Oh, it's a 4:35 game, is it? Okay, well, that'll be... Well, geez, why would you schedule a game at 4:35? I didn't think we liked those things. I thought it was bad for the supporters.
You're not letting this one go, are you?
No. Look, it'll be fantastic. Let's fingers crossed it just Pendles gets to the record. That's what
he'll get to the record.
Yeah, well, I just want to get in there. I'm not one of the... I don't like these jinx type activities. And I rang up and gave Daniel Orange a spray the other day for being a jinx.
Do you actually believe that another person tipping your team actually has an impact on the result? Oh, hang on a minute. Big drink of water. I was having this conversation with the silly little man, Richard, and he's like a yeller and a screamer, and he asked how I watch football. I just sit there. I've got zero impact on the outcome of the game.
Mate, I at halftime in the 2010 grand final, and Cloak had just missed 2 goals. I thought, they were the 2 that would have just ended it. And I'm a bit tense. And Senator Stephen Conroy came bouncing into the official function, had a Collingwood jumper under his suit jacket, and I was saying, "Oh, we won, we won." And I gave him the greatest spray of all time. And we went back out, and St Kilda kicked the first 2 or 3 goals, and he reckons he could feel at the back of his head my eyes burning through him. If we had lost, there would have been a political assassination at the MCG that day.
Come on.
Thrown him off the stand.
I love how you actually think that actually has any bearing.
I don't care. It doesn't matter whether it has or not. Yeah. I just don't tempt fate. Don't put your head in the lion's mouth and pull its tail.
That's people lion's come mouth up with a mincer.
Exactly. People come up there. Oh, we got him. It's going, leave me alone.
I know what to do next time Geelong play Collingwood.
If you actually look back when we did win the grand final in 2010, Daisy kicks that goal, and Dennis Committee says, he's got tears, and Tom Harley and Lee Matthews got it 100% right what my thoughts were at that stage. He's going, he knows they've won, but he can't let it out yet. And I went back to, and there's one of the board members of Collingwood in front of me who turns round, and by that stage the emotion, I got back into madness again about don't tempt fate. And he went to shake my hand. I've gone, no, turn around. And I actually started counting the players on the field to make sure there wasn't one extra on there, because it was the only way we could lose. I'm going, if you ever look, you see me sitting there. Yeah.
So your performance then in 2011 grand final, why was it so poor, your own personal performance? Because clearly you impacted the side.
Well, I told you, mate, the umpires ripped us off.
So it wasn't your fault.
No.
You must have the wrong bread roll over lunch.
I've got to go back and look. I've never looked at that game. One day.
Never
I've only just gone back and had a good look at 2002. Oh, that last good year. There should be a royal... They're talking about royal commissions. My God. I knew it was bad at the time. Yikes.
I'm laughing, but you're dead serious.
Oh, dead serious. If I hear one more time, we have to change this because it could affect the grand final. Affect the grand final? Where do you want to start? Right, okay. Is that it? We'll come back tomorrow and talk. I've had enough. You've upset me now.
Go steaming into Rundle Mall after this.
Exactly. We'll catch up tomorrow on our show to make sure that we go through the tips But if you want to talk to us, find us on Instagram, YouTube. Just search for Eddie and Jimmy, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Good on, Jim.